Yo! Welcome back to a brand new Craftopia video. In today's video, we will be talking about the winter content quality of life update. Now, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like and subscribe. Comment down below with any help that you may need in the game or what's your thoughts on these changes. But let's do this. Now, just like all other Craftopia content, I've covered pretty much everything to do with the winter update. We've got a few guides to go and we've definitely got to talk about those new enchants. But in terms of new content, we have spoke about pretty much everything. But there's a few things we haven't spoken about which are super important. And that is the quality of life changes that came with the winter update. Now, by quality of life changes, I mean things that have been changed to make our quality of life better. Meaning removing irritating things, unneeded features, things like that. And some of these are completely game changing. So we're going to run through all of those changes today and talk about why exactly they are useful. So let's start things off with one of my favorite fixes, and that is the fact that vehicles no longer take damage over time. Before, we would simply drive our vehicles round for as long as we can. Just before they break, we would hop off, pick them back up, which just takes forever, and then we would throw them back down so we could continue to drive them as their health would then be full. Well, since the winter update, we can drive around, fly around, do whatever we like for as long as we want, and the vehicles won't take damage. They will take damage if we collide with things, so collision damage is there. However, when it comes to just driving around, that is completely gone now. And that applies for all vehicles. The helicopter is especially useful. The helicopter is so good for flying around the maps, but you did have to constantly keep getting off or repairing it. Well, now you can just fly around forever and you're not really going to crash into anything because you're in the sky, which now means you have unlimited transport using a helicopter. And that with a hoverboard is just awesome. I absolutely love the hoverboard, but it just wasn't worth hopping on and off all the time. Well, now, as long as you stay on top of your stamina, you can just use the hoverboard as much as you like. And that's super cool. And I'm so glad that I finally get to use it again without that annoying problem of having to get on and off it constantly. And now a personal favorite of mine of these quality of life changes, and that is the new way to fly your wings. So if you have griffin wings, you will know to fly, you have to keep spamming jump. Well, that's no longer the case, and you can now just hold your jump keybind, which means on PC, instead of flying like this, how I used to, I can now hold it and I will just fly straight up. This is so much better, and I have so much more control just being able to hold it and focus on where I'm flying. So it is a bit of a small change, but this bobbing up and down constantly, it's just horrible. Well, now I can just hold my jump keybind and fly around wherever I like. It's a lot nicer. And next, one for you console players especially, that is the new lock-on system. We can now head up to any animal and you will see it has this white arrow above their head, and that will switch depending on which one you are focused on. I can then hit my keybind on PC, it's Q. I don't know what that's going to be for console, but I guess we will find out when the winter update drops. But if I now hit that keybind, I get a lock on to that green mono there, which means I can take my hand off my mouse and just run around and the camera will follow that green mono. This makes it a lot easier. This for me is probably one of the biggest changes. I know that console had a big problem with throwing prisms at monsters and things like that. Well, now this should make it a hell of a lot easier, not having to focus with that right analog stick, especially as you are going to be using your A, B, X, and Y. This now allows you to essentially take your hands off of your right analog stick and just jump around. It will follow it for you. I haven't personally used this on PC yet, as it's just kind of pointless, but it's super cool and I'm sure there is some good use for it out there on PC somewhere. But for console, this is basically game changing. Now, this one isn't exactly a quality of life as much as it was actually an entire new feature, and that is the new fishing system. We have spoke about this fishing system a lot, so I'm not going to go into detail with it now, but the reason I want to point this out as a quality of life update is simply because of how much better it is now compared to our old fishing system. With our old fishing system, we would go around, find the little ripples of water, send in a fishing rod, and we could potentially pull out one fish if we have a standard wooden rod. rod? Well, now we find these schools of fish and we use this fishing net to catch a whole bunch at once. Now, the reason this is a good quality of life fix is because previously, when we wanted to progress age or build roofs for our houses, we had to go and get a whole bunch of fish fillets. And fish fillets with a normal fishing rod can take you forever. And that's simply because you had to find the fishing spot and then catch one fish at a time. Now, you could get the glass fiber fishing rod, which will give you about 3 items per cast, but even 3 is nothing compared to the new fishing schools. You can also fish from these fishing spots very early on because of the cast net being available in the workbench from such an early age. And rather than going and catching one fish at a time, you can simply send out a net, boom, and there you go, you got a few there. And that was actually a very small catch. But now instead of roaming around the island to find another fishing spot, I would just hit my teleport altar, come back here, and the fishing spot will be back. Now, as I said, we have spoke about the fishing a lot. It's just for the simple fact that it's so easy to catch fish now. You get extra resources as well, and you don't need to go looking around as much as what you do with rod fishing. Now, even though you get way more loot from doing the fish shadows over the fishing rod, I wouldn't have included this in the quality of life fixes if it wasn't for the fact that you can do it so early on. You get way better catches, way more catches, and you can do them faster. There is literally no reason to do normal fishing anymore. You don't actually need to bother with fishing until you need the fish fillets to progress the age, which at the same time you then have the cast net. So there is no reason to do normal fishing anymore. You may as well only fish the fish shadows. And that's why, despite it being a new system, it is also a huge quality of life update. No more rod fishing. And up next, we have the gravity glove. Now, again, not a complete quality of life upgrade because it is actual content, but it does help our quality of life drastically. And the reason for that is because previously we were unable to move chests with items in it or builds that already had something on it. Well, now we can craft these gloves for very cheap and we can use them to move our builds around. So, for example, I have this fish fillet machine here and the fish is already chopping on it. As you can see, it's 5 out of 5. Now, if I wanted to retrieve this, I can't because it's operating. But with my gloves, I can actually just pick that up, take it to where I want it. I did just notice the fish stayed there. But I can take this where I want it and I can just place it back down. I can move whatever I want around my base. I could take any of this stuff here. For example, I have a chest here. This has got stuff in it, as you can see. Well, I'll just pick that up and I'll take that wherever I need it. And there we go. I can move full chests, I can move full builds. Now, it doesn't have gridlock, so it can be a little bit annoying. You do just have to place it down, maybe move it around, try and line it back up again. It may be tough, but you will get it. But it certainly beats having to remove everything, destroy the item, and put it back down again. Okay, now this one is one of my favorites, and that is the fact that high-speed conveyor belts and containers are no longer flammable with inside hell, which means, as you can see, I have a container and I have conveyor belts in the lava and they are not setting on fire, which means a huge improvement to our heated mineral farm. But I can now go around, I can place down high-speed conveyor belts and they will not set on fire, and that's the same for the containers as well. So as you can see, I'm down here and I am on fire. However, none of this will actually set on fire. And another quality of life fix while we are here, these containers now have double the space. So they now have up to 64 items per chest. And that goes for the normal containers as well. The container and the large container now both have double the storage space. Before, these containers to me were both completely useless. However, with 64 spaces per container, I am fully down to use these more often, especially when they don't burn. Now, it's no secret that I love the retrieving rod. I find the retrieving rod absolutely perfect for all of my builds that I do. However, they have actually made it even better now. So now, wherever I'm pointing my rod of retrieving, the name of the item I have selected will show up, allowing me to not misclick anything. So if I point it down here at this wall, you will see Fortified City Stone Wall. And if I just cycle around this area, you will see that name will change. This is all the same item, but if I bring it over to this side here, that's gone onto that stone floor, onto that sprinkler, I can literally pinpoint it to anything I want to make sure I'm not picking up anything I don't wish to pick up. And that goes for anything. So altar of transportation, large capacity container, high speed conveyors, wherever it is, I now get a little indication of what I am pointing at. This is absolutely amazing, especially if you use it for difficult builds. Sometimes making sure you are removing the right item is absolutely key. And many times I've opted to do this manually because manual already had the name indication. So while I'm picking this up, it will pop up as stone floor. So before our retrieving rod did it like so, with certain builds, even though I had my rod, I would go up to it and make sure I have the right item selected before removing it. I have a lot of advanced guides coming and a lot of them involve morphing two items into one. If you then do that and you accidentally remove one of those items, you could potentially have to start the entire build again. So at least this would allow you to pinpoint the exact point you want to get rid of and not destroy any builds that you never intended to. Now, before we move on to some quality of life settings, we also received some new missions. These missions are actually very easy. For example, we got Monster Hunter, which is literally defeat 10 level 1 monsters. So we got Monster Hunter, Fish Collector, Ingot Collector, Crop Collector, and Animal Hunter. All of these new collecting missions all reward you with 2 cloud storage spaces, which means across the 5 new collecting missions, we can have up to 10 new cloud storage spaces. And of course, we've got some other missions as well, which unlock things like skill points and aim for a higher goal too, which allows us to increase our level cap from 55 to 60. But in terms of quality of life, 10 new cloud storage spaces is actually huge. Okay, so let's go on to a couple of quality of life setting changes, one of which is via our multiplayer. If we now go to host one of our maps, so I'm going to press host and play, I'm just going to choose my main world, we can now assign a password to stop anybody from just being able to join, and we can also choose the max number of players, which goes all the way up to 128. This is insane. I'm so glad we get some settings like this. Now we just need some in-game settings like being able to kick people out, enable PvP, all that kind of stuff. But passwords and maximum amount of players increased is great. And now into our actual settings, we can now increase our render distance from 5,000 to 10,000. And a huge one for you console players, and that is the max number of items on the field, and we can adjust that by the multiplier. Now, if you are on a lower gen console, you may need to be down near the 1 direction, which I'm pretty sure will be your normal drop limit you have now. Or you can go all the way up to 10, which will basically mean you can have unlimited items on the floor. And finally, we have some mob audio. We can now increase or decrease the audio that the mobs make while we're out and about. The audio in this game isn't great, so at least with this, we're able to drop down those annoying Anubis' yawns, or those cows constantly mooing around your base. It's a small change, but again, very useful. Now, we did get a bunch of other fixes and a whole load of content. And as I said, we have covered most of them already. This is just some simple quality of life changes that make the game better, in my opinion. The winter update is due to drop this month of January. We should be expecting the winter update for console any day now. After all, we only have this week and next Monday left of January, and according to Pocket Pair, we are getting the update this month. But of course, soon as I hear anything, I will let you guys know. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do drop a like and subscribe. Comment down below with any help that you may need in the game, or what's your thoughts on any of these changes. I have some huge videos coming out in the next few days, and I cannot wait to share them all with you. Also, for those of you who come to my live streams, I stream every day, but I normally take Sundays off. Well, that is going to be changing, and Sundays I will be doing a members only stream. I'll be putting some more information about that out on Discord when it is all fully confirmed and we have a start date. But to Cazgang members, I will be streaming every day. So be sure to join our Discord to stay up to date with that, especially if you're a member. But join our Discord anyway. We're trying to reach 1,000 members, and it would be awesome to have you as a part of that. But most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace!